Ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome to yet another session of Ask the Chicken Doctor, episode 2. Thanks for the people who watched episode 1. It was wonderful viewing. I always appreciate, and I request everyone who has intentions of keeping poultry or dealing in birds to always watch these episodes. This is episode 2, and we shall not waste any time. Let's go straight to our question. The question I had, today I'm going to do only one question because it was a bit big and it creates a lot of concerns to farmers. The first question came from Louis Poultry Farmers from Kenya, and I don't know if that's the pronunciation of the name, but it is Ruai. And also it came from someone called Rari, and also it came from someone called Helen from Masaka. They were asking about abnormalities, different abnormalities, egg abnormalities, because I posted some eggs on my status and they are giving me back some other shell qualities they have, which are giving them out of headache. So I decided that today I'm going to do a presentation or a YouTube video about eggshell abnormalities. When you look at eggshell abnormalities, it is something which it seems simple, but it's not simple. Why? The reason why I say it's simple, but it's not very simple, that very many farmers go on to cut out very serious decisions just because of a few appearance of the shell differing from the normal, and the farmer will take a drastic measure. For example, I've seen very many farmers saying my birds have Newcastle. You ask a farmer, why do you think they have Newcastle? Then he's like, you know what I'm seeing, sometimes I'm getting small eggs, my shells are white instead of brown, things like that, and the farmer will just go on and vaccinate the flock. Then another one will say, I want to deworm. You ask, why do you want to deworm? Then he will be saying, my chicken are having worms. Why? Because the shells are losing their pigmentation. Others will be like, I'm receiving very small eggs without yolks. It seems I'm going to have infectious coryza. So there is a lot of mixed infections when it comes to eggshell qualities. So today I've decided to do some of the abnormalities in eggshells. One, I will start by explaining, because you must know how a normal egg must look like. So a normal egg, first of all, my producer will just bring the picture closer. As you will see, oval in shape, though you are seeing this. Then, apart from being oval, a normal egg must be smooth, like the shell must be very smooth. It must feel like someone is having pimples, or it must feel like it has depressions. It should not feel like it is having cracks. So it must not be rough, it must be oval and smooth. That is the quality of a normal egg. Then a normal egg must be of an average egg size. Very many people find difficulties when want to talk about the size of an egg. Like me, personally, I can tell by look of either that is a normal egg. But if you can't, at least you can weigh. A normal egg must be between 50 to around 58 grams. But you will find some bigger eggs which will go up to around 65 grams, and some smaller eggs which can go around 30, 40 grams. But the question is, before we go into eggshell quality, how can you tell that there is a problem in your flock depending on the size of an egg? I've received very many people complaining that my chicken are laying very small eggs. You ask, how long have your chicken been laying? Someone will say they have been laying for 2 weeks, a month, which is not a problem, because a normal egg, a normal chicken will always start with what we call starter eggs. So starter eggs are the ones which will prepare an egg to reach a point of laying the normal eggs. So never be worried, never go on and boost, never go on and do a lot of decision just because your birds are laying very small eggs at the start of lay. That is how it must be. That is the normal. Chicken always start with very, very small eggs. What am I trying to drive to is that as what happens that at the start of lay, this chicken will always have a lot of abnormalities in shells. Reason, their body and the system which makes an egg is not yet used to what it means to form an egg. So that's why the first question I always ask when you present an issue of egg shell abnormalities or egg abnormalities, I ask you, how long have your birds been into lay? If it is the start, it is not a scare, because sometimes birds start like that. So some birds will start with a lot of yolkless eggs. Some will start with a lot of very big, or what we call the mega double yolked eggs. Then others will have eggs without shells or shellless, but it always happens at the start of lay. But once you see that it wasn't there and it's trying to come up, then that's always a problem. So one thing you must always look at the age, or what period has it been when your birds are into lay. That is very key for all farmers complaining about abnormalities. They are very common at the start of egg production. Those first days, there are very many. But when you see that nothing has happened, the birds have been laying very well, and then you start seeing those abnormalities, then you must get worried. But you must know that is it anything you have to get scared of or not. Another aspect you look at when you are assessing egg abnormalities, egg shell abnormalities, is the ratios. What number of such abnormalities are you getting compared to what number of abnormalities do you get compared to the number of chicken you have? You might find that someone is having around 10,000 birds, but 10,000 birds is getting like just 2 eggs which have abnormalities. That must not be a scare. The reason is abnormalities will be always measured according to the ratio or the percentage of birds that are causing such an abnormality. So some flocks will come with a lot of abnormalities, and others will just have a few birds with it. So you should not get worried when just 2 or 3 of your birds are presenting with some abnormalities. That's another aspect you must look at. Another aspect you should look at, have there been any changes in your routines? When you see any abnormalities, when there is no changes in your routines, always be, if you see any abnormalities when there is no change in your routines, then you get worried and seek for advice. But if you see abnormalities after a change, then be sure that chances are high the change you made caused the abnormalities you are receiving in your egg shell. So there are a lot of abnormalities a lot of changes which can happen. Sometimes there's change of feed, sometimes there's change of housing, sometimes there is some activities like the beatings. All that can cause a change in egg shell quality. So you must ask yourself, what thing have I done which I have not been doing at my farm? So those are some of the questions you always ask yourself once you start seeing abnormalities in your flock. So that's a bit of introduction of what we are going to do. So I'm going to go into details of the different egg shell abnormalities which we always experience and which you always ask on the farm. So I received a lot of egg abnormality quality problems, and I'm going to be explaining. I'm going to try and explain what you should think of when you see such an egg in your farm. Number one was a dirty egg. You have all seen dirty eggs on farms, but some eggs are excessively dirty. And this condition always happens mostly in depleter farmers. So a depleter farmer, once you see a dirty egg, the first thing is to observe what is making it dirty. Is it the litter? Is it water? Is it droppings from the bird? Is it blood? What is it? But in this case, I'm talking about a dirty egg. I'm talking about anything that is trying to smear the surface of the shell, which is not blood. So the most common causes of dirty egg are diarrhea. So when a bird is having some diarrhea, you see a lot of eggs coming out when they are covered with some fecal material or droppings. Also, it must be an indication that the digestive system of a chicken is not is not fine at all. So you have to look at the appearance of the droppings of the bird, because that's what always causes dirty eggs. So that is one thing you should always look at. But in most cases, it's an issue of diarrhea and an increased amount of undigested food material. So if your food has a lot of undigestible food materials, in most cases you're going to end up with an issue of dirty eggs. So as farmers, when you see a dirty egg, don't just clean and just leave it there. Sometimes it's an indication that something big is happening in your flock, especially the diarrheas. So number 2, we are going to look at what they call blood-stained eggs. So blood-stained eggs is when, for example, you see this egg, but it is having it is covered by some blood on the shell. Sometimes it's just one side of the egg, and other times the whole egg is smeared with blood. So the explanation for that is simple. It means that there was some rupture of blood vessels as the egg was being pushed. So whenever you see blood on an egg, there was some rupture of blood vessels when the egg was being pushed. And what can cause that? 1, excessively big eggs. As I've told you, that an egg must be of a reasonable size. So if an egg is too big than the outlet where it passes, it will overstretch that outlet, causing rupture of blood vessels, smearing the egg with some blood. This happens a lot in starters, chicken which are starting to lay, because that area is not so much used in producing eggs. So there are higher chances of getting ruptured blood vessels in young flocks which have just started to lay, or starters, than in those mature layers. So you must always take note. Another thing is prolapse. Prolapse is when a bird tries to lay an egg and that outer part tries to fall out. In doing so also, blood vessels rupture, painting an egg with blood. So every time you find an egg with blood, look for a chicken, look for, in your case, for example, those people are using cages, you can spot where that egg is, and you can look at, of the 3 chickens which are in the cage, which one most likely have laid that egg. If it's a deep litter, just try to be very careful, because it's very hard for deep litter farmers to spot which chicken laid which egg. But it must be an issue of prolapse or ruptured blood vessels. Sometimes it can be an issue of pecking. Pecking happens a lot, especially in deep litter. And once pecking happens, bleeding will happen, and that blood can smear an egg. Some farmers always ask, what if it is increasing day by day? How can I handle the issue of pecking in a deep litter? So the issue of pecking in a deep litter house, in most cases, it happens at the vent. And the explanation is simple, that when God was creating chicken, they were created in the way that they see more of red and yellow colors more than any other colors. That's why even the modern day drinkers and feeders and nipples are made of those 2 colors. So as a chicken is trying to lay, there is a membrane which brings the egg down, and after the egg has reached down, it retracts back. But that membrane is pinkish and is highly surrounded by blood vessels. So when a bird is trying to lay and others are seeing the bird, they will look at that membrane, they will try to peck once, because they are attracted by the red color, and once they peck, bleeding will happen, and the color of blood, we all know it's red. To be attracted more to peck, and that pecking will continue. So any pecking in laying flocks, deep litter, vent, always know that the issue is excess light in your laying nest. Don't allow your chicken to see each other as they lay their eggs, because they are going to be attracted by that red membrane, that reddish membrane, causing serious vent pecking, and can result into some of your eggs being painted by blood. So those are what we call bloody eggs, or blood painted eggs. Another abnormality we are going to see is shellless we have shellless eggs. This is a very big issue. We have what we call soft-shelled eggs, and then we have the shellless eggs. Those two are different. When you talk about shellless eggs, these ones have no shell, but instead they are covered by what we call the shell membrane. So cell membrane is one which is covering shellless eggs, but a weak-shelled egg, it has a shell which is weak. So in most cases, when you press a shellless egg like this, like it is very soft, like a polythene bag with water, the way you press it, or like a balloon. So a balloon or a polythene bag with water, that's the feel of a shellless egg. But a weak-shelled egg, it is just an egg like a normal egg, but the shell is very weak. But in the case of a knock, it can easily break. So shellless eggs don't just break, but weak-shelled eggs easily break. Hope you get the difference. So when we talk of shellless eggs can be caused by a number of issues, and one of them is immature shell gland. Shell gland is that organ responsible for making sure that the shell is in good, the shell is made in good condition and in perfect form. So if it's immature, you get a lot of shellless eggs. So it means this is very common also in birds which have just started to lay. Okay, so shellless eggs also can be spotted in a flock with IB infections. IB infection, that is infectious bronchitis. Sometimes you will see such shellless eggs. So let's go to another form of abnormality. We said we have soft-shelled eggs. Yeah. So soft-shelled eggs and shellless eggs, one thing they have in common is that they can also occur, both can occur due to inadequate nutrition or absence of enough calcium and phosphorus. It can happen. Calcium and phosphorus. So always remember that. But also shellless eggs can be caused by avian influenza. We are not going to details of that, but it's one of the deadly diseases which affects birds and humans. But let's leave it at that. But once you see them, it can also be avian influenza. So once you see soft-shelled eggs, all shellless, all soft-shelled, can be calcium, phosphorus deficiency. That's an issue of nutrition. But also there are some minerals like manganese, which can sometimes end up leading to such issues. And we have what we call pale eggs. Pale, an egg will be colorless, or it won't have this very great pink color, just pale. And in most cases, once people see it, they say Newcastle has hit us, but it might not mean that. You go back and find out how many of your flocks are laying pale eggs. But also, if you see an increasing number of pale eggs or colorless eggs or whitish eggs, they might indicate a scare of IB infection, which is infectious bronchitis. Actually, infectious bronchitis does a lot of abnormalities in eggs than in Newcastle, but very many people think Newcastle is the major threat when it comes to egg abnormalities. Larry had what we call corrugated eggs, all eggs which have wrinkles. Hope you have ever seen such an egg. So corrugated eggs are when the egg shell has some kind of wrinkles on an egg. So once you see one or two, it may not be an issue, but once you see an increased number of such eggs, in most cases it is a clear sign that your birds are undergoing what we call very high heat stress, but also infectious bronchitis, one of the signals that will show you that the flock has infectious bronchitis. So what do I advise farmers? These egg shell qualities might not confirm the presence of disease, and you should not go on to vaccinate or do any actions about a disease when you see such egg shell quality. Then you go on and discover other forms of symptoms and signs of that particular disease, find the vaccine or none. For example, for infectious bronchitis, there will be some flu or respiratory distress in birds. So find out when did you last vaccinate infectious bronchitis. Don't just act because you have seen an egg which is corrugated. No. So always act after getting. This should goes only guide you to call a vet to come and see how your flock is. And once a vet comes, to give you the details of what it could be. But the corrugated egg, it can be infectious bronchitis, it can be heat stress, it can be an issue of excess calcium in a feed also. So corrugated eggs can be excess calcium. One thing I had forgotten about shellless and soft shell eggs, they are also very common when birds are undergoing, when the birds are struggling with mycotoxins in feed. That's why I always advise farmers to always put toxin binders in feed, because it is very hard to deal with mycotoxins in feed. Why? The brand we use, we are not so sure of the source. Sometimes we reach a farm and the brand is caked. So such issues lead to mycotoxins in the feed, and they can also end up causing such eggshell abnormalities. We have talked. As we talk about these abnormalities, in most cases we put into our minds the system, the reproductive system of a bird, from the ovaries up to the croaker where the egg will come out from. So the whole system, you have to understand it very well. And you must know that that system has a lot of places. It has the shell gland, it has very many places, and in each place there is a particular activity that happens. In some places, like the ovary will release the egg, or what we call the yolk, and the yolk will move through. It goes into a place. They put some that string. After that, that string, it continues in a place. They put the cell membrane. After that, it goes to another one. They put a shell. After it goes to another one where they do shell pigmentation. So a lot of things happen. So any disruption in a place where the shell is formed or pigmentation is happening, it's going to cause out of a shell abnormality. So we have another eggshell abnormality, and that is the calcium coated eggs. Sometimes you find an egg like this, which is well shaped, everything is okay, but it appears more white than the other eggs. Not like it is its color, but it appears like some white material is coated on the surface of this egg. So that's what we call calcium coated eggs. You see a lot of this, especially if you see some abnormal color, somewhere whitish and some part is brownish. So in most cases, this will happen when there is disturbance of chicken, when they are in that actual process of calcification. When the egg has reached a stage of calcification and is disturbed, you see it a lot. Last month, I happened to oversee a farmer who was transferring birds from deep litter to the cage when they are already laying. What happened? That chicken did not lay in the morning because transfer was happening. They laid all their eggs in the evening, but all the eggs were coated with calcium. The eggs over-delayed in the system, and even after finishing, they over-delayed in the place where the shell calcification happened, and they are all coated by that whitish excess calcium. So you get, so any disturbance, for example, one of the causes can be transfer. Number two, it can be excess lighting at night, whereby birds will spend a lot of time eating instead of resting and make their eggs. Number four, inactivity. Any major activity like people want to do spraying. Some are saying they have to spray in the evening when the birds are cooling down. Also, some people want to fight rats. They want to come in the evening, disturb them, like chase birds around. Want for rats. Any disturbance at night when the process of eggshell calcification is happening is going to result into a calcium coated eggshell. But also there is calcium painted eggshell. Those are different, but they are almost the same. But the producer will show you the pictures so that you can tell the difference between a calcium painted egg and also a calcium coated egg. One is called calcium deposited egg. calcium deposits on an egg, and another one is called calcium coated egg. So another abnormalities, that thing also can be caused by excessive heat. Sometimes it can happen, but in most cases the main causes are disturbance during qualification, then also excess calcium in feed, or a defective shell gland. Let's go to another one, which is called the speckled egg. Speckled eggs can be either white speckled or brown speckled. That's when an egg has some spots. It can also be like a spotted eggshell. Spotted, something like it's the eggshell, it has something printed within. So that one also is an egg abnormalities, which can be as a result of a defective shell gland, or it can be an issue of excess calcium. So not that every time you see it, it's Newcastle, IB or what. No, those are issues of stress, defective shell gland, or excess calcium in feed. Okay, hope that is okay. We have what we call mid-shaped eggs. Some are very pointed, deformed pointed, and these are very common in diseases like in Newcastle. So when you see eggs which are pointed in a weird way, if I happen to get a picture, I'll ask my producer to include it, so you'll be able to see it very well. They are very common in Newcastle. Then we have defects on the apex of the egg, whereby apex has some abnormalities. Sometimes you find like it has some pimples, but just on one side of the apex, not the whole egg. These are very common in mycoplasma infections. Mycoplasma infections always cause a lot of apex abnormalities on eggs. So let's continue, and we have what we call whitey banded eggs. Whitey banded is when it is already formed, but you find a whitey band on the side of an egg. So sometimes it happens when two eggs are formed at the same time and in the system whereby, and they end up one contacting the other. So the place where they meet ends up with a whitey band. But also it can also happen due to an issue of stress in a flock. Then another common question was the very small tiny eggs without a yolk. This one I can explain it well if you have an idea of how the reproductive system of a bird looks like. It's like they're like strings, and in each place, as I started, each place has something which happens there. But the first step of egg production is the formation of a yolk. So what happens before the yolk is formed? Something else is released. It can be a piece of fat, piece of blood. So it is released, and the system of the egg, of the hen, will think that no, a yolk has been released. So all the system will switch on, and it will start going through the process in which the yolk goes through, putting on the string, putting on the membrane, putting on the egg white, putting on the shell. But because what was released was very small, it ends up forming a very small egg. So if you have just few, like 2 in a flock, shouldn't worry you that no, my chicken have worms, my chicken have Newcastle. No, sometimes it's just an abnormality. But if you see an increased number of that, you just seek doctor's advice. Okay? Those are the small eggs which you always see, which very many of you think it is from worms. But another thing, if a small egg has a yolk, for example, if your chicken were giving you very good eggs, like these, and then out of the brood they start giving you very small eggs but with yolks, in most cases it comes as a result of compromised nutrients. Sometimes it can be any infection which reduces uptake of nutrients, for example, coccidiosis, whereby the intestines are affected and absorption is limited or is tampered with. Worms, since they are drinking some, they are taking up some of the already formed nutrients from your bird, or it can be an issue of not enough feed. Sometimes you give enough feed, or absence of some key nutrients, for example the proteins in a feed, or it can be an absence of enough water, whereby it leads to formation of little volumes of egg white, resulting into a small egg, but with a yolk. So always be aware that a small egg can be small egg with a yolk or very small egg without a yolk. So those are different, and the causes are also different. Let me see if there is any other abnormality which was asked. I think we have talked about most of them. Maybe there is also what we call the broken and mended, whereby you look at an egg and it looks like it has a crack, but which was mended. That's also an issue of calcium. Excess calcium, disturbances during calcification, all that what happened. So, in brief, what have we seen? We have seen that not all eggshell abnormalities are caused by disease. We have seen that the highest cause or the biggest cause of eggshell abnormalities is stress. Any disturbance causes stress, which results into eggshell abnormalities. Another thing we have seen that causes a lot of abnormalities is inadequacy or excess, or what we call nutrition. Excess of especially calcium, phosphorus, and vitamin D3 cause a lot of problems in eggshell quality. So stress, feed are very key when it comes to eggshell quality. Then number 3 is lighting. When you play around with your lighting system, lighting is very key. That if you are to do any artificial supplementation of light, you have to be very serious. I'll come with another YouTube video about lighting in chicken, but always for the correct lighting of a chicken house or a chicken flock if you don't want to get abnormalities in shell quality. Another issue can be hygiene, whereby we have seen things like dirty egg, which can affect the egg quality. We have seen prolapses, which can affect eggshell quality. So it's not necessarily disease. And the two diseases we have seen a lot is infectious bronchitis, which is IB, and mycotoxins, which always affect a lot when it comes egg quality. But most of you always talk about Newcastle. It has some influence in this, but not so much like infectious bronchitis. So in case of any abnormalities, look for a vet, ask a few questions, they will guide you about what to do. But don't just wake up and vaccinate and do things A and B. The deworms, find some people are getting a dewormer, today deworms, next day vaccinates, say things are still the same. So don't just act out of impulse. Please always seek advice. Okay, seek advice and you do the right thing instead of just having. That was eggshell abnormalities. I'll come back and talk about a few I would have missed, but mainly that's what I've talked about. There's someone who asked about a big egg, which is not under eggshell, but I can just give a brief understanding of it. Double yolk eggs are produced when the ovary produces two yolks at the same time. So they go through the process of egg formation together, just like twins. You end up with two yolks in one egg. But because the two yolks are big, you end up with a mega big, with a big egg. That's what we call a double yolk egg. Then we have also an egg inside an egg. You break an egg and you find another egg inside. It also happens, that one happens when an egg undergoes through a process called reverse peristalsis. After the process, it goes back and is released as a yolk. So it undergoes into that process again. Another shell is put, another egg white is put. So you find an egg inside an egg. Also, we shall see that sometimes you find an egg and a yolk inside an egg. That's when an egg is finished, but on its return, due to the process of reverse peristalsis, it finds another yolk ready. So the would-be double yolk forms an egg with a yolk inside an egg. All those are abnormalities in eggs. But I said most of them are very common at the start of lay, in the starter stage of the bird, and very old age. Okay, those are predisposing factors. Very early stage of lay and very old birds have a lot of abnormalities. Thank you very much, the chicken doctor himself.